Think Theory Radio. Hello and welcome to Think Theory Radio, the show that brings you topics outside the mainstream realm of thought and ideas to make you think. And I'm your host, Damien Perdue, your metaphysical guide on this audio ride of radio delights. And of course, I'm joined by Palternate C.
Yo, yo, yo.
It's got to be oi, oi, oi.
Oi, oi, oi.
Because you're from the other realm.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Oi, yeah.
Your alternate self.
The realm where they called him Smokey the Bear and not Smokey Bear.
Yeah.
Yeah, so apparently a popular 1952 song by Steve Nelson and Jack Rollins added the word "the" to make the rhythm fit the music. So it was Smokey Bear.
You're like, what are you talking about?
Right, yeah. No,
so right before the show started.
People listening to the podcast, like, this is so out of reference. People listening to the radio are like, oh, yeah, I guess they were. Yeah, that was Smokey Bear commercial.
It was a Smokey Bear commercial. I said, well, didn't he used to be Smokey the Bear? And then he looked at
everyone calls him Smokey the Bear, but it's Smokey Bear.
And I was like, is this a Mandela effect thing?
No.
It wasn't. It was a song that they added the.
Yeah. See? But if I didn't say the song, you were all ready to be like, no, I swear it's Smokey the Bear. Just like Berenstein is spelled with an A or whatever. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Which actually fits perfect into what we're going to talk about today.
Mandela effects.
A little bit, yeah. Okay. The liminal space.
Liminal space.
Kind of parallel universes, the other world, traveling across the veil, seeing to the other side.
Going to that world where Shaq or Sinbad acted
Sinbad was
in a movie called Shazam.
Yeah. It's true. It's all true.
A world where the starting lineup for Varsity Blues isn't all dead.
Yeah. We're not going to get too much into the Mandela effect stuff. That's not really what we're talking about.
But
what
the show's about.
It does kind of.
You threw it at me, and I decided to take it to a tangent.
Well, it correlates in a way that. What made me think of this, so is we're going to like liminal space, ancient other worlds in mythology, and also the quantum realm in higher dimensions and how they correlate, right?
What are three things I don't know?
So it started off because, there's a lot of things that happen where I'm reading a book and I'm, like watching a certain show or listening to some kind of music, and there's synchronicities that line up between them, right? So I was watching this show called Dark Matter. I don't know if you've heard of this one, but if you like sci-fi, parallel universe type shows that are set in Chicago, which is, three details that are in my wheelhouse, it's a pretty good show, really kind of trippy. It's just to, describe it a little bit. It's basically as a physics professor and his alternate self from a parallel universe who created a superposition box where humans can travel through the multiverse. Okay. But you have to take this psychotropic drug that shuts off the default mode network of your brain and stimulates your brain in a way that decoherence won't freak you out, right? So like the normal way we exist in our world, the way our senses, the way we evolved, it's to see a physical reality. And if we were to try to see into another, higher dimensions or parallel universes, your brain would freak out. So you have to take this psychotropic drug to kind of numb that part of the brain and allow you to see these other spaces. So when you're in the box and you do this, you see millions of doors into parallel worlds. And the cool part, it's all Chicago. So it's like every time they go into these different, doors, it's a different version of Chicago. Some will be, chaotic, it's on fire. Some it's, just the same, just a little bit different.
I thought it'd be like all those cool little hidden parts of Chicago. It's like you'd come out of the pedway or you'd come out of the manhole.
Well, it kind of is because the box will be in different places. And sometimes they come out of a warehouse. Sometimes they come out of the pedway. Sometimes, the pedway is actually a good example of a liminal space.
Okay.
And before we get that real quick, just the synchronicity part of it. So I was watching that show, but I'm also reading this book called Cosmic Trigger by Robert Anton Wilson. And he talks about, and he corresponded and hung out with Timothy Leary a lot during those days of, doing a lot of psychotropic drugs and higher mind expansion and studying ancient philosophy and believing in, that there's communicating with these higher intelligences, and his theories of that like what people perceived as angels and demons and what people perceive now as UFOs or extraterrestrials, or kind of these same higher intelligences that can only communicate with us in culturally, references, right? It has to be like culturally, not culturally appropriate, but to the times you're living in. Like a UFO to somebody back in the day wouldn't have made any sense, but since we're in the age of science, that's the way they can show themselves to us, because we only perceive in a physical realm. So I'm like, this show's kind of talking about that. It is, when they're in this box in the liminal space and jumping into these multi-universes. And then in the book, it's talking about the way you have to use. You don't have to. He says you can meditate in different ways, but a lot of it has to do with different, psilocybin or LSD and stuff that can like transport your mind or numb your mind or something to allow you to see these higher dimensions. But you brought up the pedway, which is kind of cool, because a liminal space is it's an internet aesthetic that centers on depictions of like built environments, but really kind of places that are abandoned and weird and creepy. Like, I don't know if you remember the trend of like the back rooms that was on the internet, started in 2019. And then it really kind of blew up during COVID because everyone was on the internet home. And I get a lot of these videos that, like promoted to me on Instagram or whatever, where it could be real photos and videos of actual places like abandoned warehouses or the pedway or these kind of weird, creepy places where there's no people and, there's nothing. You ever been somewhere that you're used to in a normal way and it looks so different? Like, for example, I remember flying out of O'Hare on the 4th of July one time, and there was nobody there. Like, no one flies, I guess, out of
No, that's
4th of
true.
July.
Yeah, if you want a cheap plane ticket, fly on the 4th of July.
Yeah, and I never saw the main hall when you're walking towards the gates completely empty.
Yeah.
And it was eerie.
Completely empty.
Completely empty. I took a picture. There was no person in
Because,
there.
like, if you get there early enough,
right,
like you're there in the middle of the night, there might be some people, but yeah, like totally empty is weird. Yeah.
And so you get that kind of, that creepy feeling, like you're like inside, you're like, this is just not right. Okay. Well, that's kind of what these liminal spaces are. And they evoke, nostalgia, maybe, discomfort or comfort or some kind of unease. And now you can see, like, because it became such a popular thing, people will create their own versions of it online. Okay. And the back room started, it was basically it was a 2019 thread on 4chan where somebody posted a picture of it was actually, the photo was taken in 2002 in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. It was a former furniture store while the new tenant was renovating. And it's just this empty room with this weird, kind of that fluorescent yellow kind of light, and the wallpaper and the carpeting just looks old and drab, and but nobody knew what it was from. So it just kind of became this thing like, oh, this is some kind of extra dimensional room, that exists beyond normal space. Okay. And that's what these back rooms are. And that's like, it's an example of liminal space. And I guess like creepypasta genre, which is like the Slender Man and all these different kind of weird paranormal people or creatures or whatever. Which, so that became like a thing. And now you can see like all these different kind of like, entities and different levels. And now with AI and different kind of computer programs, people will create these really multi-tiered back rooms and liminal spaces that are really trippy, but kind of look like, imagine, we're at the radio station, right? And we open the door, walk down the hall, and like, oh, we got to get something out of the, the storage closet. And we go in there, but all of a sudden the storage closet is another long hallway, and it's just never ending. And then there's doors, and each door turns into another hallway and another hallway. And that's kind of what like the back rooms are, right? But then it's, in the mythology of it, it's that, oh, we tapped into a kind of parallel space, kind of inside the fold of reality. Okay. So when I was, reading about this, watching these shows, listening, it made me think about one, obviously quantum physics, because I'm always thinking about quantum physics, but also how quantum physics is that other realm, right? This is what, the subatomic realm, the underlying base of reality is something that you can't physically see. We can't feel it. We can't really see it. I mean, even in these, particle accelerators, they don't actually see any photons. They don't actually see any particles. The only thing they track is the reactions of them colliding with each other. So there's I think there's only been 1 or 2 pictures of an atom, which even then it's not very detailed. I think they took one a couple of years ago that was like the most highly detailed, but even then it's not even, because it's subatomic. We don't have the technology yet to enable to see it, and we cannot see it with our own eyes. Unless you're on the right kind of stuff, man.
Need that third eye open.
Exactly. So I was thinking about this, but also how does it correlate to ancient mythology? Because it's so much in every ancient culture and every indigenous culture around the world had concepts of another realm, of this other space, right? So I thought this is an interesting kind of correlation between modern internet sensation of, liminal spaces, back rooms, quantum physics, and ancient mythology. And it's not necessarily to say, oh, this is actually something that exists, because the other question is, and even in that book that I'm reading, he says, like, look, I go through all these things. I believe I'm talking to a higher intelligence. I believe I'm seeing another realm, but it could all just be a byproduct of my own mind.
Okay.
Right. So is that part of it? Is that consciousness? Are we just seeing something we want to see, or are we tapping into something else? I mean, there's the other part of the liminal space is this threshold between life and death and rebirth, these crossroads. So some people view liminal spaces as when your life is in flux and you're like going to change, maybe you lost your job or something's happening. You don't really know what's going on. Nothing feels right. You're in that threshold, that crossroad between, life choices or whatever. And some people relate it to gender, when you're deciding that, the gender you were assigned at birth is not what your real gender is. And you're in this crossroad of change. That's another liminal space. The bridge between the seen and the unseen, rites of passage, and also like dreams and sleep paralysis, and also the hypnagogic state, which is that point right before you fall asleep and right when you wake up in the morning where you're kind of dreaming but kind of conscious.
Okay.
You know what I'm talking about? Where you've had those dreams where you're in bed, but you're seeing the dream.
I gotcha.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
That's that hypnagogic. They were kind of like in between the veil, the inside the veil between the conscious and the unconscious mind, right?
Okay.
And that's actually like a really good space. If you can concentrate, you can actually do some good like brain rewiring in that time. I've actually had some of my it's great and bad at the same time, because I don't end up getting to sleep for a while because I kind of stay in that space when I'm trying to fall asleep, but I start to I really tap into memories that I don't remember really much in waking life.
Okay.
Like going back to like childhood and even as a toddler, or, just remembering people that I forgot about for 20, 30 years or whatever. And, but then it'll kind of keep going. And it's like, all right, I got to get to sleep. Come on. But it's also, in the realm of quantum physics, like superposition. This is what, the particle wave duality thing, right? Where, we'll get into a little bit later more about the quantum physics part, but that's, this it's an either or thing, and it's all about the observer and who sees, do they see a particle? Do they see the wave based upon different reactions, different experiments? And that's kind of this in-between, the in-between world, right?
Okay.
So that is kind of the description of what liminal space and the back rooms are. But back, because I didn't really fully explain, but when you said the pedway, because I know like a lot of people, if you're not from Chicago or you don't go downtown much, don't really know what the pedway is.
Mm-hmm.
And the pedway is this underground tunnel that connects all the way from underneath Millennium Park, from the what is it, the South Shore line, train line down there. You can go all the way, I believe, into City Hall.
Okay.
Which is a good, I don't know, 5 blocks, maybe 5-6 blocks. And it connects through to the Red Line CTA train station, the Blue Line, and underneath Marshall Fields, or I guess now is, I don't know what it is now. Target?
Macy's?
Macy's?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was one of those things. I think Target owns Macy's, or Macy's owns Target. I don't know. But it's, but you go underneath and there's kind of, back in the day, it really used to have a liminal space vibe because a lot of the places were empty. And now it's kind of, there are parts of it that are like that too, where, because it's supposed to have these storefronts. It's supposed to be like kind of a little mall down there. But some aspects of it are just this weird, eerie hall that you're underground. There's no windows. These storefronts are empty. If you're down there at the right time, there's nobody walking around down there. I used to bring my skateboard down there and like skate because it's like really smooth and they kind of have like stairs and ramps and stuff. And
sure, kids figured that out. Kids love hanging out down there.
But it's but it is a weird space. It's kind of like an in between space, and a lot of people don't really know. But and the fact that it's like underground, it's kind of some underworld realm.
Yeah,
you got to go down in these stairs, and and some of them are kind of creepy too when you go down there, like the old stairs and stuff. But yeah, so I'm kind of glad you brought that up because I kind of forgot about that place. But definitely a good example of a liminal space there, Palternate Sea. All right, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we'll get into what are some examples of other worlds and ancient cultures, and then also what about the quantum realm on Think Theory Radio right after this.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers. So we build specially adapted homes at Homes for Our Troops. And thanks to our donors and supporters, this life-changing gift of freedom is provided mortgage-free to these veterans. But we need you to join us too in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Your child is sick. And with those 4 words, the innocence and joy of childhood disappears. But Starlight has taught us 4 other words that make all the difference. The power of play. Healing begins with happiness. That's why Starlight Children's Foundation provides programs to hospitalized kids to deliver happiness when it matters most. Learn more at starlight.org.
Because facts matter. You are listening to WCPT 820.
Welcome back to Think Theory Radio. This is Damon, and today we are talking about liminal spaces, ancient other worlds, and the quantum realm. How do they correlate? Do they correlate? Do they not correlate? This is just my own crazy mind that thinks they do.
Probably.
Yeah. Except for the fact that when I look it up, I find other people that wrote articles about it. So I'm not the only one. And so we're talking about liminal spaces. Well, liminality comes from the Latin limen, which means threshold. And in anthropology, liminality is the quality of ambiguity or disorientation that occurs in the middle stage of a rite of passage. So like when participants no longer hold their pre-ritual status but have not yet begun the transition to the status they will hold when the rite is complete. And this concept of liminality was first developed in the early 20th century by folklorist Arnold van Gennep and later taken up by Victor Turner. And more recently, the usage has broadened to describe political and cultural change as well as rights. But if you go into, these different spaces, so like for those just who know, we're talking about liminal spaces, like an in-between place, time, or state of being that is neither here nor there. And in other, ancient cultures, and even like in witchcraft, right, which ties into a lot of ancient cultures, you had, these kind of zones, these different crossroads, or like even in ancient Greek mythology, you had, I don't know how to pronounce it, Hecate. Do you know this?
No,
I'm
I
not
don't
big
know.
in
Yeah.
Greek mythology, but
Yeah.
she was the goddess of crossroads.
It's not like Hecate or something like
Probably,
that. Or,
you're probably more right about it.
I don't read that nerd mythology stuff, but I know how to pronounce it.
Yeah. You're better at the grammar part of things
Yeah.
than I am.
You read about Hercules, and everyone says he's so strong, and
That here cool guy, that Hercules.
Hercules and Hercules,
He's
yeah.
super cool.
And Zeus, the god,
Oh,
and
yeah.
Zeus, and and at Henna, and Sorry,
You got it. But like in ancient mythology, the liminal spaces, that that metaphysical threshold, right? Like you have like the crossroads, a three-way intersection that were viewed in Greek and Roman lore as like a volatile zone of magic and ghost encounters, and caves and chasms. That's where it's like the Pedway kind of reminded me of these ancient folk. There's always some kind of like underworld, some underground, subterranean opening, serving as a direct physical portal to the underworld. And then you have like river fords and shores, boundaries between territories of states of being, requiring a psychopomp or ferryman, to get you across, some kind of weird ethereal creature that take you to the other world. Thin places in like Celtic mythology was geographical spots where the veil between the mortal earth and the divine otherworld naturally dissolved. And I know in like Druidic folklore and with the Celts, they believed in the veil of illusion, right? That this world that we see is illusionary. This isn't real. And I always kind of, like the way that parallels quantum physics too as well. But there was, reminds me of a story called The Battle of the Trees, which is an old Druidic folktale about how humans used to be in tune with nature. We used to be able to see through the veil. We used to be able to communicate with trees and other animals in different kind of, telepathic ways, or, kinetic or some other kind of energetic.
Why do you suppose that stopped? Do you think like the trees maybe said something about the guy's wife, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm not talking to you anymore."
It was the other way around.
On the way around, the guy said something like,
I thought the trees.
"Man, that is one beautiful maple right there. That's my wife,
Right.
bro."
Oh, I didn't know oaks and maples dated, man. I'm sorry.
Oh, you got a problem?
Right.
That's not cool with
Yeah.
you?
It's but it's interesting to ask, because it was actually the humans in a not that way, but like what they did by creating civilization and taking control of nature instead of living with nature. Like cutting down the trees to build homes, setting up shop, creating an agricultural system, putting livestock into farm into fences to control the food and the population. That once we took ourselves out of the life cycle of nature, that's when nature said, okay, well, we're cutting you off from the other world.
Okay.
You're no longer going to be able to communicate with us on that level. And that's what the story of the Battle of the Trees was. That's what, at one point, the humans and trees got into a war in the trees.
Yeah, I saw that Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, it's kind of like that part, which is probably where he got it from.
Yeah.
He definitely read a lot of ancient mythology to write that. Do you know he wrote that in like a foxhole in World War
One, probably. No, I didn't know that. I thought it was like he wrote it on a dare because like C.S. Lewis was like, "All right, do your own epic. All right, fine." I will.
Yeah.
I could be wrong about that.
It might both correlate.
I don't know. I mean, this is I don't read that nerd stuff, so I don't know. Might have accidentally heard this fact somewhere.
You might be right. But that's actually, Lord of the Rings has a ton of these kind of otherworld mythological places, where there's, that veil between, where the evil Sauron lived, right? Was it? I can't remember the name of the area that they.
Mordor.
right?
Is that?
I think you're right. Yeah, Mordor.
Oh,
yeah.
Gosh, don't tell people.
Well, it's in a Led Zeppelin song.
That's why I knew that. That's yeah. I met a girl so fair. Yeah. Yeah. The Gollum in his evil ways crept up and slipped away with her. Yeah. I'll just keep rambling on if you want me to. I did look it up. Tolkien Lewis encouraged Tolkien to finish The Lord of the Rings.
Okay.
Yeah.
But did he start it writing?
I think he did. It said fought in
it...
World War I trenches, which shaped their view of human sour and heroism. But this is also the quick.
Was he in the war together with C.S. Lewis?
I don't think they were. I think
okay.
they both fought as British men did in the Great War. But they also formed Inklings at the University of Oxford, literary discussion group. Yeah.
Supposedly, there's a lot of different, stories about like Scientology, but that it was, Aleister Crowley, who was like I don't know if it was technically called the Church of Satan, but that's, he had his own religion, and he supposedly dared L. Ron Hubbard, like, oh, you're going to start your own religion.
Start your own religion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like it's going to get powerful and like the wealthy and elite like entertainers are going to join it. Yeah, right. I'd like to see that.
That's a whole crazy story in itself, but
yeah, I'm surprised you haven't done the Scientology episode. Is that because you're worried that
exactly? Yeah. I don't want them to come after me. But back to the other worlds, not the world of Scientology, but in Celtic mythology, you had the Land of Youth, which is Tir Nanog, which I'm probably not saying right, was an otherworld paradise of everlasting health, beauty, and joy located across the Western Sea or inside ancient mounds, which actually went to like an ancient mound at the Hill of Tara, just outside of Dublin.
Okay.
And that's where, and it had this, they called it like a fairy mound, but it was like this mound, and there was a little small locked gate that went into this mound. But supposedly with using LiDAR scanning, there's actually like a huge ancient ruins that are underneath this area. But there was also a stone, kind of phallic stone, that was the stone of destiny.
Okay.
That the Celtic kings would if you touched it and it vibrated, like then you were the chosen one. And Anwen in Welsh mythology is an otherworldly realm of abundance and illusion, ruled by the deity Arwen, and later integrated into tales of the mists of Avalon.
Okay.
Right? And Greek classical mythology, you had Elysium, or the Elysian Fields, was a blessed realm of the afterlife, reserved for heroes, the virtuous, and those favored by the gods. You had Tartarus, a deep, gloomy abyss located far beneath the traditional Greek underworld. Norse, Germanic mythology, you had Valhalla, which Odin's majestic hall in Asgard, where Iron Man and the other Avengers came. And oh, that's a different thing.
I was like, wait, what?
Helheim, or Hell, was the misty, cold realm ruled by the giantess Hel.
Was Helheim the full name, and we just been calling it by the nickname the whole time?
Yeah.
Okay.
Pretty much.
Helheim, I think, I don't know, it just doesn't sound as bad as hell.
Yeah. I think Helheim is a road out, west of Chicago.
Oh, okay.
No.
Mannheim, you mean? It is like hell sometimes.
It is.
Though,
It is.
I see what you did there.
Near Eastern and Indo-Iranian mythology, there's the Chinvat Bridge, which in Zoroastrianism, it was a spiritual bridge separating the world of the living from the dead, and acts as a final testing ground where souls are judged. What else? And then you had in right here in the indigenous Americas, you have Navajo successive worlds. The Navajo creation story describes humanity's emergence through 4 distinct vertical worlds, starting from a dark, chaotic first world up to the current 4th surface world as beings evolve spiritually and physically. And that also kind of reminded me of the parallels of like higher dimensions and quantum physics. And I have a good little article I'm going to read from Michio Kaku, the theoretical physicist. When we get into the next segment, we'll talk more about like the quantum physics side of it. But in Pueblo and Hopi underworlds, many Pueblo and Hopi traditions hold that people originally emerged into this present reality from lower subterranean worlds, moving upward through spiritual maturation or guided assistance from animal and insect helpers, or like your spirit animal and stuff. Which that's also, and we talk, I've talked about when we talk about dreams on the show, right? But I think like dreams, the part that you really can understand what I'm talking about in terms of other dimensional realities, I really feel is expressed in dreams. For most people, and if you're listening and you're like, what was this guy talking about? Just think about your dreams.
Yeah.
Okay? And how the physical reality in a dream doesn't make any sense. You're pouring a bus out of your coffee cup, right? Or like, I've had like, we've all had strange dreams, right? I remember there was one who was like a building turned into a transformer and then started throwing like plates of Indian food at me.
Yeah. That old that trope, yeah.
But there is, when there is actual scientific verification that the brain operates on a multidimensional realm that we can't access in waking life because it would distort our worldview. Like we couldn't handle reality if we were walking around imagine seeing the world like a dream in regular life.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's kind of what psychedelics do to you is they kind of, break down that barrier and the world looks distorted. And but that's why we have evolved these senses in order so that we don't, jump off a waterfall or something. I don't know.
I gotcha. Where does the movie Inception come into play here?
Well, it's funny you mentioned that because I had a dream.
So some of the stuff you were describing just sounds like stuff that was happening in Inception.
Yeah. I mean, Inception definitely deals with this liminal space kind of aesthetic, right?
Yeah.
With the folding kind of realities. Doctor Strange does it in those movies. But I remember reading the book The Art of Dreaming by Carlos Castaneda, and in it, his shaman teacher tells him how to like utilize dreaming to access different parts of reality, right? These kind of, and he's talking about almost like waking dreaming. He's not really talking about going to sleep in your bed and then dreaming and you see this thing. It's more of like meditating in a certain way to get into this dream state. And one of the first things to do, which you can do when you're sleeping in order to try to control your dream, is you look at your hands.
Yeah.
Right? And it does give you a sense of control. So one of the first times I did that, and the reason I'm telling you the story is because you brought up Inception, and I did that. I was like, wait, okay, I'm dreaming. Look at your hands, right? And as I did that, I'm in some kind of like underground parking garage. For some reason, I'm planking. I don't know. And then I look up and I see a kind of an opening, to the outside. And I crawl out of the opening, and now I'm on a kind of a beach.
Okay.
And this really shaggy dog starts walking by me.
Okay.
Right, and kind of looks back, and I'm like, oh, I think I need to follow this dog. Like that's it's like the we're talking about the Pueblo and Hopi traditions. It's like this was like a spirit guide.
Yeah.
Right? This dog. So I'm like, okay. So I'm following this shaggy dog, and as we're walking ahead, you can see where the horizon line meets, and there's the sky, and then there's the water, and there's the beach.
Okay.
And as we walked towards it, we went into it. So then we went into the horizon line.
Okay.
And now we're inside the horizon line, and everything became these folded boxes of different parts of the reality. So like part of one box was the sky, one box was the water, one box was the beach, the land.
Okay.
And we're just kind of floating in between these boxes. And it reminded me, well, then I kind of like after a little bit I woke up. But when I saw Inception, it reminded me of that. Because that's kind of how when they go into these spaces, you remember how like the folds of reality would change, you know, and the building would open up and it'd be like 5 buildings on top of each other. And they kind of travel in between the lines of reality. But yeah, that's what kind of reminded me of that. So that's why I told that little anecdote there about my dreams. But the dream, I think the dream part is really where you can see multidimensional reality.
Okay.
For most people. Okay. Because it's not, constrained to our physical senses. So that's why you see it, you know. And they say that's the brain actually operates in at least 12 to 16 dimensions. And that's why it can do so many things at one time. You know, your brain is functioning on so many levels that you don't even know what's happening right now. Yeah. Right? It's controlling your breathing. You're not thinking about breathing. You don't say, oh, I got to breathe.
Not unless you're on a lot of drugs.
Or meditating.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, focusing on it. Yeah.
But even, you know, if you moving your hand, right, you don't think about, oh, I want to move my hand up right now, or I want to twist my head. You just do it. Your heart is just pumping. You don't have to think about. Imagine if you had to actually think about everything your body is doing.
Oh gosh, yeah, we'd all die because we get distracted. Like it's like the second you start doing something, it's like, oh, I forgot to breathe.
Yeah, like think about if your body was like,
help me move this box.
Driving a car, right?
Yeah, driving a car. Yeah, oh my gosh, yeah. It's like someone cuts you off, and next thing you know, you just like are having a heart attack. Yeah.
You know, if you're, exactly. Like you'd have to concentrate on every single thing your body was doing. It'd be nuts. So that's why the brain operates on the multiple dimensional things, so you don't have to worry about that. But I think that's the best way to tap into these crazy, like, different realms of reality. If you don't want to do, psychedelic drugs, we're not advocating that, The views and opinions of here Think They're Radio, not that of WCBD 20-hour line single. But in Mayan mythology, the other world consists of a multi-layered cosmos divided into the 13-layered celestial heavens above and 9 subterranean levels of the underworld below, all connected to the earthly middle world by the sacred world tree. Okay. Right? Which is funny that you brought up during the break, you brought up a Rick and Morty episode with the tree. And remember how that was kind of like that. They were in this underworld controlled by this tree, and there were like different forms of reality where you could be an amoeba and you could evolve into
the whole point is you were supposed to you could do whatever as long as you were maintaining conflict, because the tree lived off of the souls constantly being recycled. But they found out you could evolve to be anything. So first they're cell splitting, and then they're fish, and then they're land mammals, and then but then I don't want to spoil it for people listening, but it takes a really cool side curve where Morty has to do his thing and Rick does his own thing, and then they figure something out together. Yeah, I thought it was pretty cool. I know it has that kind of like multi-layered, weird reality of what's what. Did you notice when they came back, Summer was like, "Where were you guys today?" And they lived several lifetimes. They're evolving, that's right. Constantly reincarnating.
Right, it was only one day.
Yeah, and they come back and they're walking in the living room. Where have you guys been today?
That's right. I forgot about that. It also reminded me of that Simpsons episode where I think it's The Simpsons, right? Where they go through, they show.
Oh yeah, it's like a couch gag. Yeah, and it's like Homer finally gets to the couch last. Like, where have you? Or what took you so long? Just like, ugh, But it shows him like evolving the entire way. And then meanwhile, Mo devolves. He goes from like rat back into human into rat or whatever. Yeah.
But I like this the Mayan mythology, like the multi-layered cosmos. Okay, which is kind of like exactly what we're talking about, these different layers of reality. And, they had the Xibalba, which is the dreaded subterranean place of fright, ruled by malevolent death gods. The 6 houses of trials was a dangerous interactive zones within the Xibalba such as the Dark House, Razor House, Cold House, and Jaguar House, designed to torture or trick souls and visitors. So that really reminds me of kind of like backroom stuff where there's like the different houses with different things going on. Caves and cenotes are like physical sinkholes and subterranean cave networks in the Yucatan Peninsula that the ancient Mayan regarded as literal geographic entry points to Xibalba. And then the ball game they would play was like believed to be an underworld ball court where the hero twins Hunapu and Xibalanque outsmarted the Death Lords. And then you have that's the underworld part of it, but then you have the 13 upper worlds, is a vertical stack of 13 distinct heavenly realms where each level is governed by specific astral deities and celestial forces. And then the Milky Way, or Itzamna, often envisioned as a cosmic crocodile or serpent path and linked directly to celestial realm and dwelling place of creator aspects, which reminded me of the Egyptian goddess Nut, who is depicted in most, Egyptian hieroglyphs as the Milky Way. She's kind of arched over, and she is the Milky Way itself.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, it's I like the connection between kind of space, time, the other realms. But what about the quantum physics aspect of it?
Yeah, what about it?
Does it correlate? Does it make any sense? Let's take a quick break and then find out on Think Theory Radio right after this.
Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive.
People who listen to WCPT, you are bright, you are interested, you are interesting, and you are well informed.
Don't you wish your life came with a warning app?
Stop. That dog does not want to be petted.
Just a little heads up before something bad happens.
Move your coffee cup away from your computer.
Oh, no.
So you can have more control.
Stop. You're texting your boss by mistake.
Uh-oh. Well, life doesn't always give you time to change the outcome, but prediabetes does. With early diagnosis and a few healthy changes like managing your weight, getting active, stopping smoking, and eating healthier, you can stop prediabetes before it leads to type 2 diabetes. It's easy to learn your risk. Take the 1-minute test today at doihaveprediabetes.org.
Warning. The cap is loose on that ketchup.
Ugh. Don't wait. You have the power to change the outcome. Visit doihaveprediabetes.org today. That's doihaveprediabetes.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and its prediabetes awareness partners.
Hey Google, play WCPT.
Streaming Chicago's progressive talk from TuneIn.
Welcome back to Think Theory Radio. Today we're talking about liminal spaces, ancient other worlds, and the quantum realm. Let's take a phone call real quick before we get more into the quantum physics side of it. What's going on, Brian?
Hey, good afternoon. Great conversation.
Thank you.
I just wanted to throw in my 2 cents. If you've ever been anywhere where you're really cold or really hungry, like I was on a camping trip once up in Boundary Waters, and it was a bad weather situation, plus there was some snafus with the food. There wasn't a lot to eat for a couple of days, and it was just generally miserable. But it's just amazing how your sense of smell just increases tremendously. And the same thing, if you've ever been in really remote locations, your sense of hearing, it's really
it gets
it's really magical. And it's a semi-dream state in a way. And I live out here in New Mexico, and a whole other dimension to life people don't realize is the night sky. It's just a whole other aspect of our existence on Earth that most humans really aren't aware of anymore, or don't have time, or they don't live in an environment where they can see it. But it's really fascinating. And I also wanted to say that when you think about we Homo sapiens, I mean, we left Africa, 100,000 years ago, something like that. But for the vast majority of that time, most people were illiterate, and all you knew and understood was what somebody had told you or what was around you, and that's it.
Yeah.
You know, you had to figure out everything on your own, and it's just a completely different realm. I mean, you know, in our modern life,
I think you were more in tuned as well, like more in tune to your surroundings, to your correlation to nature, and
well, you had to be because
to survive. Yeah,
because for most of humanity, if you ask somebody, "What are you going to be eating in 4 days?" Nobody knew.
Right.
Right. You hope there was some grain in a building somewhere, or a wild animal would be in the vicinity, or a herd was nearby, but you really didn't know. I mean, life now is like, well, how much money do I got? You know, can I go out for steak tonight, or is it going to be tacos? You know, what are we doing? You know, but for human existence on Earth, it's been, we don't know.
Right.
Just take what you could get and observe what was around you, and that was it. You know, there was no going to the library to research something or look on the internet. It was just a completely different environment for people to exist in. So,
oh yeah, no doubt. Well, I was going to mention too, like where you're living in New Mexico. You mentioned like the night sky, but even the desert itself. And I mean, you have you know, not too far from you have like the Sedona, like the vortexes there, and the kind of you know, that
yeah, I haven't been to that region. I was just downstate helping my father-in-law with some stuff, and then I got the chance to take a remote drive, hoping to see the Perseid meteor shower. Didn't get to see much of that, but anyway, the area I ended up in, it was a little bit west of Carlsbad Caverns, and it was so remote. I mean, there was no sound. All you heard was wind or the occasional animal, and that was it. Not even a jet in the sky. It was,
and that does, just
really
that alone does like it alters your perception so much.
It does, and another thing that I like about the night sky is, I mean, if you're really in a dark area looking at it, and you can really get the feeling that you're on a rock riding through the universe. It's amazing. So. Yeah. It's quite a feeling. So I recommend remote camping anytime you get a chance.
Agreed.
So you guys, great show. Have a good afternoon.
Thanks, Brian. Yeah, exactly. Like that. I'm glad you brought that up because I was thinking about that too. Like the different parts of nature when you're in, you know, deep in a forest or on the desert, or, you know, even somewhere on the water, you know, on an island or on a like a remote beach. It alters your perception in so many different ways because you don't have the same, you know, kind of stimuli, right, that you do. Especially for us to live in the city, it's so different, you know, because you're constantly bombarded by technological stimulation and people all around you and voices and you know, and you think so much in words and trying to communicate in that way, where when he was talking about like our ancient ancestors, I always think about you know, before there was language, for the majority of human history, people did not think in words.
Yeah. We talked about that, didn't we? Yeah.
Which I think it's pretty fascinating, you know. And I wish I could kind of go back to that just to see what it's like, you know, to not have like words clouding your thoughts in a lot of ways.
I mean,
you know?
You'd have to completely reset yourself. Like, I mean, is that what it's like for a person recovering from a stroke?
That's a good question. Or somebody who, you know, amnesia or something, maybe. I don't know. You know, there's definitely probably some kind of.
Do you think like the first time you hear like another language being spoken and you don't know any of the words, it just sounds like gibberish, but then when you kind of figure out a couple things, then you hear it in a different way. I'm wondering if it's kind of like that, where it's just sounds, you know, just like.
No, that makes a lot of sense, because when I've traveled to countries that I didn't know the language, I kind of liked it in a lot of ways. You know, I mean, you'd be a little confused, or you'd feel a little out of place, but at the same time, it was kind of like, oh, I kind of like not like knowing what everyone's saying. Yeah. Or like sometimes I'll listen to music that's the other language music that I don't fully understand, and it's just all I hear is the music, you know, and the voice becomes more of an instrument than concentrating on what they're saying.
But then you're like, this rocks, and it's like it translates to this disastrous thing that happened to their country 100 years ago.
All about genocide.
Yeah,
You're
right.
like, oh, it's such a beautiful song.
Right. No, it's about killing children.
Right. Exactly. It could be. But so talking about like now we're into the quantum physics realm or the quantum realm, and how does that correlate to what we're talking about the liminal spaces and the ancient other worlds, and it depends on what you what your belief is. Some people say no, this is just particle physics, and it's just what makes up matter and energy. This concept of like superposition, right, where I was talking about earlier. So you have these simultaneous multiple states where there's the wave function collapses, and it could be a particle, it could be a wave, depending on the interpretation of the observer. And you need to have an observer there. So it's like the observer-based reality, right, which is kind of relates to these other worlds. Like you can only see the other world if you're trying to see them. The Heisenberg uncertainty principle is the act of measuring like one disrupting the other. It's impossible to simultaneously know both the position and momentum of a particle. You can only know one or the other. You can't know both. And that kind of the act of measuring disrupts one or the other. So you have to let go the need of linear logic and understanding everything at one time, which is very similar to like what is a liminal space, and where I was talking about earlier in the beginning of the show that you like in that show Dark Matter, they had to take these psychotropic drugs to cut that part of the brain off, because otherwise we're so logic based that it doesn't make sense to us. We couldn't see, imagine if you could see the world as particle physics, and you looked across at me, Paul, and all you saw was millions of vibrating atoms and particles.
I mean, I do.
Wait, give me what do you got, man?
I see things atomically.
Right,
I'm a little colorblind, but I see
atomically. The non-linearity of time in quantum physics, time is not viewed as a linear progression from past to present to future, but rather as a web of interconnected possibilities. In liminal spaces, our experiences of time often departs from ordinary perceptions of chronological order. Time can suspend, freeze, expand, slow down, or disappear. Non-locality, quantum entanglement, these different weird versions of quantum physics that we can't fully understand, but do exist, and they make up reality. But I wanted to see if I could fit in a little bit of what I mentioned earlier. Michio Kaku he wrote you can find it on his website. It's called Hyperspace, Scientific Odyssey, and he's talking about higher dimensions. And he asks, do higher dimensions exist? Are there unseen worlds just beyond our reach, beyond the normal laws of physics? Although higher dimensions have historically been exclusive realm of charlatans, mystics, and science fiction writers, many serious theoretical physicists now believe that higher dimensions not only exist, but may also explain some of the deepest secrets of nature. Although we stress that there is at present no experimental evidence for higher dimensions, in principle they may solve the ultimate problem in physics, the final unification of all physical knowledge at the fundamental level. And I thought that was pretty cool, coming from a pretty famous theoretical physicist, and he's talking about the concept of higher dimensions could be the central piece to unlocking the origin of the universe. All right, that's going to be it for us. We'll be back again next week and every Saturday, 6 to 7 p.m. right here on WCPT 820 Think Theory Radio.
You know that you can listen to Chicago's Progressive Talk on WCPT AM 820. Stream us live at WCPT820.com and on the TuneIn Radio app. Or